What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. I am joined here on this video with my adorable son, Edgeworth Ryland, and we are here to talk to you about Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In particular, we're going to be covering Kimahri's return in conjunction with his lost chapters on Global Opera Omnia, which is going to be featuring his rework as well as the debut of his LD weapon. We're going to be talking about the banner as well as the Chaos difficulty boss fight that is going to be featured for this particular lost chapters. And last but not least, that Let's Play for Kimahri in particular to show you guys how Kimahri works with his brand new rework and his LD debut. But first, if you guys love the content that you see on this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so then that way you guys don't miss out on new videos. And if you guys find my content helpful, please smash that like button and also share this video to your friends and family. Now, as always, I want to give a big thanks to Rem and the Dissidia DB because all of the information that is found on this video comes from his website, as well as to Macnull and the Dissidia Info, another fantastic resource, as well as to the Opera Omnia tracker, allowing us Opera Omnia players to track our progress in the game, and as well as to the Tonberry Troop for the effort and time that they take to create those beautiful infographics summarizing what these characters do, and last but not least, the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles podcast, giving us a weekly podcast for Opera Omnia. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about Kimahri's lost chapters and what it contains. ロンドの誇りにかけてこれで終わりではない決まりが行く決まりは負けない Kimahri's rework and LD debut with his lost chapters further improves his usability as a strong defensive hybrid support and debuff character. His rework improves both his C54 and C58 passives. His C54 passive further improves the self max brave and attack increase effect it provides, while his C58 passive increases the entire party's max brave and attack while Kimahri is buffed. Both his Skill 1 and Skill 2 are further improved with his rework. His Skill 1 Lancet and Thrust Kick has 120% Brave Overflow, improves the max Brave attack and defense up effects of his unique buff Ronso traits, increases the Brave hits of Lancet to 3 along with an increased Brave potency, and increases Thrust Kick's Brave hits to 6 along with an increased Brave potency. His Brave Attack Plus has 2 Brave hits with an increased Brave potency, and its Jump command self-Brave heals based on its own attack and has 120% Brave Overflow. Kimahri's Skill 2, Mighty Guard and Bad Breath, has an increased Brave hits to 4, increased Brave potency, and a 180% Brave Overflow. The debut of his LD weapon at full limit break permanently raises his attack and grants him access to the LD ability called White Wind, which has 4 total uses. White Wind heals the party's HP by a moderate amount, heals the party's Brave based on attack with a 150% Brave gain overflow, and then delivers a 6-hit, non-elemental range, single target Brave plus single target HP attack with a 200% Brave overflow, extends Kimahri's own existing buffs by 1 turn, and grants him a new unique buff called Gagazet's Wind for 8 turns. Gagazet's Wind increases the party's initial Brave and attack, and applies a Brave and HP regen effect to the party. These effects improve when a party member's HP is 80% or greater. His LD weapon at full limit break also grants him access to his Brave Attack ++, which heals the party's Brave based on attack, and then delivers a 3-hit, non-elemental range, single-target Brave attack, and access to Jump Plus, which also heals the party's Brave based on attack, and then delivers a 2-hit, non-elemental range, single-target Brave plus single-target HP attack with a 150% Brave overflow and low action delay. Recommended artifact passes for Kimahri, post his rework and LD debut, are 3 copies of Attack Plus 108 and 3 copies of Ronso Tribe's Guardian Boost 2-star. Alrighty guys, so now that we've talked about what Kimahri brings with his rework and his LD weapon, what are my overall thoughts about the character now? I actually think Kimahri is fantastic. If you're looking for a healer, he heals you. If you're looking for a Brave battery, he does that. If you're looking for somebody who could provide clutch by blinding, which is 100% and it's a frame debuff, he has that. If you're looking for a character who has HP damage reduction for the party, he has that. If you're looking for a defensive style of play for a character that allows your party members to survive, he has that. So Kimahri brings a lot of different pieces of like a support hybrid debuffer to allow you to be able to, to deal with various situations, especially if, let's say you're in a boss fight, for example, and, a particular fight, really needs to have like a strong debuffer or like a strong healer or something like that. Kimahri can actually fulfill that role. Now, while there are characters who completely specialize in that particular role, such as like, there's characters that can just, straight out heal, where they do that better than Kimahri, then you're probably going to want to go with them. But Kimahri is a great slot-in character who's very versatile, who also deals a fairly decent amount of damage that can provide different options for your party. So if you're looking for a character like that, I think Kimahri is actually a fantastic choice, which leads me to talk about the banner. So the banner that comes out with this Lost Chapters is going to be featuring Kimahri's gear. We're also going to have another chance to get Arden's burst weapon. So for those of you that are still trying your hardest to pull for that weapon and you missed out on it on its initial release, as well as Renoa's LD weapon banner, then maybe you could try to get it here, especially if you're planning on pulling for Kimahri's LD weapon. And then afterwards, we also have Yuna and Null, who unfortunately, while they do have access to their realizations, they are a little bit on the dated side. However, with the right team build composition, they can actually still work for particular chaos stages and things like that. It's just don't expect them to be doing amazing things compared to some of the other characters that we've recently seen. And that's just because that's how gacha games work, guys. There's always going to be characters that are kind of going to be either sidelined or you kind of want to build around them a little bit more. So Null and Yuna are essentially in that category right now where they're a little bit on the outdated side, but it doesn't mean they're useless. You can still use them, definitely. It just really depends on the fight. So if you find value in this banner, giving you a character who's very versatile, gives you nice debuffs, gives you clutch, gives you HP healing, gives you battery, then maybe this might be the banner for you. But if your roster is already, loaded with characters that can fulfill those certain roles that Kimahri can, then I'd, safely pass on this banner. I will say though that Kimahri is going to be a character that will likely be underestimated. And the reason why I say this is if you look at the timeline of where his banner is being released, look at everything else that we've seen before this actually came out. We have Arden, we have Renoa, who's also, a fantastic kind of like a hybrid offensive type of a character. We had Noctis, who just came out, who, I'm willing to bet, destroyed a lot of our resources because of just how powerful, his kit is. So the timing of Kimahri's banner, I feel like, is what's going to hurt him. But the thing is, don't underestimate the character. If you do pull for this character, he's actually pretty good, especially with his, new rework as well as his LD weapon. So that's going to be my thoughts about the banner and about the character. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is talk about that Chaos difficulty boss fight as well as the Chaos challenge. The Chaos difficulty boss fight for this Lost Chapters features a two-wave fight, with the first wave being against the Motherweed Malboro and the last wave featuring the return of the Osteoavis boss. For the normal Chaos version, having a character who can prevent debuffs such as Yuna, Aphmau, Lena, or Selphie can be very helpful, as both waves of bosses utilize very debuff-heavy skill sets. Having powerful AoE abilities can also be very helpful for Wave 1, as the Motherweed will periodically resummon its allies on top of applying AoE buffs. The HP threshold of Wave 1 isn't too high, so as long as you're packing ways to deal with the debuffs and strong AoE abilities, you should be able to breeze through it without much difficulty. Wave 2, against the Osteoavis, is a dual target boss fight, with the bosses being immune to the initial Brave Down and Defense Down debuffs. It has no other resistances, immunities, and weaknesses. Both bosses will have instant access to their recast ability, which deals a powerful AoE Magic Brave and HP attack and inflicts initial Brave Down, Attack Down, and Fire Ice Wind Imperil on all your party members. They also both wield various magic AoE abilities that also inflict debuffs, which further debilitates your party stats. At around 50% and less health, the bosses become more aggressive and will use abilities that have a high turn rate when breaking or attacking a broken party member. Great tanks to consider for this boss fight are Bosch or even Celeste, especially since the Wave 2 bosses primarily use magic attacks. Again, since both waves are debuff heavy, it's recommended to bring characters who can help deal with that. As far as the Chaos Challenge goes, the ideal setup would be Arden, Kimahri, and Yuna. Null can also be a good option since he is synergy in the event that you do not have one of the characters built. Ideally, you'd want to bring either Kimahri or Yuna for the Chaos Challenge because they are the only two support units who can heal your party members for this fight. Alrighty guys, so here we are with that Let's Play, and it's going to be for Kimahri post his rework and LD. So Kimahri honestly is a very straightforward character. Now if you have his EX weapon fully realized, fully purpled out, he's going to start off with 6 turns of his Ronso's trait, and that's very important because it allows him to have access to the better versions of his skill 1 and skill 2. And then it also gives him access to his Brave Attack ++, as well as his Jump Plus command, provided that you also have the LD weapon. And remember, you got to have the LD weapon fully limit broken as well to have access to all of this. And remember, if you also have Kimahri's EX weapon fully realized, he'll immediately have access to his EX ability. So how do you play him? Well, since he already has Ronso's trait active and we have access to the better versions of his skills, for me personally, I like to go right into his LD because I want to have that new buff, that Gagazet's Wind, so then that way your party benefits from the initial Brave and attack increase, as well as that Brave and HP regen. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. So while I could have gone into his EX, I'd rather go into that, so then that way I'll have access to that buff. And remember, it also extends his existing own buffs by a turn, and then he gets access to Gagazet's Wind for 8 turns. So now we can go ahead and go right into his EX. Now, depending on the situation, obviously, sometimes you might want to go into the EX. Like if you're anticipating like a huge AoE HP attack, remember his EX ability applies that 100% blind debuff that is also framed. So the enemies can't hit you. So it's an amazing type of a clutch, type of a frame, blind debuff that Kimahri has access to. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. As you could see, well, it looks like he dispelled it first because of this boss. But, I mean, you could see that it applies a debuff. Okay. Alright, so after that, pretty much, he's a pretty flexible character. So depending on the situation, he has various options that you could go into after you've applied the buff from his LD, and then afterwards you've used the, his EX ability. So you could use his C65, which what this does is, it increases defense, it also increases attack, which is pretty cool if you need a little bit more, defense and stuff like that. And then afterwards, if you want to battery up your party or you have different options here with his Brave Attack ++ or his Jump Plus. So if we go Brave Attack ++, as you could see, he heals Brave based on attack before he actually deals damage. And then if you also want to do that with his Jump Plus command, you could do that as well. As you could see, he increases Brave, or he heals Brave based on attack. Alright, we're going to take a look at his skills soon. So we'll let him take this HP damage here. Shouldn't be much of a problem. Okay. Alright, so now I want to use his skill 2. The reason why I want to show off his skill 2 is, remember, his skill 2 is what applies that HP damage reduction, and it also applies that really powerful debuff called Bad Breath, where it lowers attack and max Brave, and it also applies a Brave Sap, which is pretty cool. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and then afterwards, we're going to go right into his skill 1. So skill 1, you generally want to use this if, let's say, you don't have access to his EX and his Ronso's trait buff is about to expire. That's generally when you'd want to use his skill 1. Or if you would just want to deal more damage and you don't want to use his Jump Plus command, that's when you ideally would want to use skill 1. But generally, it's there for you to refresh his Ronso's trait buff and as well as to dish out a little bit more damage. So this is how it looks like here. And it also provides a little bit of HP healing too, which is very nice. So that's going to be Kimahri in a nutshell. Again, the character is pretty straightforward. He's pretty easy to understand. Just remember, if you have him fully realized and you have his LD weapon fully max limit broken, ideally you want to go into his LD first, just because you want to have access to the buff, his Gagazet's Wind from his LD ability. So then you have that, and then you go right into EX, and then afterwards, pretty much he's very flexible, and there's really no wrong choice, to go into right after that rotation. It really just depends on the situation. But again, Kimahri's cool. He does a lot of different things. So if you like him, pull for him. He's a very versatile character. Alright guys, well thank you again for watching this video. Again, if this video helps you guys out, gives you guys a bit of value, please smash that like button as well as share it to your friends and family who might enjoy Opera Omnia. Stay tuned for the next video, and mahal guys.